Hi, everyone. I'm Jess, and I'm the content manager here at Course Report. Course Report is the resource for helping people find the right coding boot camps for them. You can use the Course Report website to research the best coding or digital skills boot camps all over the world, as well as insights on which coding languages to learn, where to apply, and so much more. So one of the trademarks of any immersive bootcamp experience is that students create a final project. And today we're going to hear from a General Assembly alum about the real world project she completed for the charitable organization Kuda Vana. So let me first introduce our panelists who are going to explain what actually went into this project. Emily Hohenreiter, who is a UX design bootcamp graduate of General Assembly, and now Emily works as a UX designer at Kin and Carta. Tara Peterson, who is the founder of Kuda Vana, which was the client for this GA project, and Nick Anderson, who is a General Assembly instructor and helped guide Emily and her team as they redesigned the Kuda Vana site. So Emily, Tara, and Nick, thank you so much for speaking with me today. Emily, before we jump into the project and talking about it, I'd love to hear why you chose to enroll at General Assembly in 2020, especially as someone who had some design experience going into the bootcamp.
Yeah, great question. So in 2020, I was a graphic designer and I had recently gotten laid off from my graphic design job. And it really gave me that opportunity to look at different career opportunities. And I really decided that I would enjoy something that would not only involve design, but also involve a little bit more of the design process of being able to connect with real users and kind of combine that left brain with that right brain in the design. So I was looking online for different boot camps that could get me experience in UX design quickly and then set me up to get a real user experience design job. And so that's why I decided to go into this bootcamp.
And Nick, what kinds of projects do General Assembly students typically work on in the UX design bootcamp?
Yeah, so in the UX Immersive, we do 5 projects over 12 weeks. And the first few are basically building skills, the foundations, working with students or in concept projects, maybe with existing brands. But for the capstone project, they have an entire 3-week sprint that they spend with an actual client. And so these are people that I'm either using my network to find, or GA has a robust amount of folks we've worked with in the past, where the students can get on there and solve a real problem. What's special about this project is you're working under real constraints with real people, and it's some of the best experience you can get for showing folks what you can do in a job scenario, when it's not just your fantasies of like, oh, what could I design? It's like real business applications, and it helps them understand a whole lot.
Tara, as the founder of Kuda Vana, what got GA on your radar? Like, how did you come to be connected with their UX design program?
Hi, yeah, so I am involved in several nonprofit groups here in the Denver area. One of the members of those groups was aware of UX design, told me about them. And as a small nonprofit organization with zero budget for marketing and media, I immediately was like, oh, I need to apply. I really didn't even know the extent of what the program offered or what it could do. But for me, it came through my network, and I continue to refer nonprofit partners and those I meet to UX design, just because I think they do incredible work.
Nick, you mentioned that the real world project work is such an important piece of the UX design bootcamp. Can you give us a little sense of like what kinds of real world like partnerships you're looking for any past cohorts or even for upcoming cohorts?
Yeah, we're always looking for people who are either working on small teams where the students can come in, and Tara's project with Kuda Vana is the perfect example of this. It's a really good cause that needs the support and doesn't have the financial backing to be able to hire 3 full-time UX designers. This is a great process for folks that are trying to build something really big and really important from that small scale. So that's definitely one side. Another thing that we found really useful is working with companies that are growing and getting to a point where they do need UX design influence. I worked with a company, for instance, that had 100 employees, which about 90 of them were developers, and they had one lone designer. And he said, if I could get 3 student designers in here for 3 weeks to show them how much of a huge effect we can have when we're thinking design first, I might be able to hire some of those students, might be able to make a larger case for why design needs to be more centric to our design philosophies here. So there's a lot of different use cases, but I would say something like Kuda Vana and what Tara brought is probably my favorite.
That's awesome. Tara, I'd love to know a little bit about Kuda Vana. What is the organization's mission?
Thank you. Yeah, so we work in the orphan care adoption space within Zimbabwe. So our mission is really to empower some of the most vulnerable children of Zimbabwe to not just survive, to not be on that survival level, but to truly thrive. And so what our team there does is truly take a kid from infancy who has been brought to us through social services all the way up through either, high school or sometimes college and university, the way you would with your own children. A huge part of what we're doing now is working in more family-based care spaces, placing children safely back in family through safe reunification, adoption, or foster care within Zimbabwe. And to give you just some context and color, I am a one-person employee here in the United States. So my entire team is actually in Zimbabwe, which again is why this UX design project was so meaningful and powerful for our organization.
Wow, what an amazing cause. Emily, let's have you share your screen so you can walk us through your team's design contributions to the Kuda Vana website. Emily, why don't you walk us through your designs for this project? Like, what were the main redesign elements your team came up with, and if you had an overall goal for the project?
Yeah, so we basically had 3 goals for this project, and that was content organization, a site design, kind of like a revamp, and improvements to the donation flow. So something that we really wanted to help the client Kuda Vana with is being able to organize that content and that information architecture in a way that would make sense to the user. So something that we did do was research on how users would interact with this nonprofit, what they want to see, and what they would be willing to click on. So this included this main navigation up here and this secondary navigation that you can see below. Another part of our project was redesigning the site. So most of that redesign included the homepage. And I think that's where, especially for a nonprofit, it's what really hooks a user into researching more about that nonprofit and getting to know more so that they would eventually be able to contribute. So this was very important to us. So as you can see, we helped deliver this site. And so this was, we did some research on how users would want to see where they were at in the site and different aspects there. So at the beginning, we have this, kind of overview of Kuda Vana, and then we did into more about what Kuda Vana does, why they're in Zimbabwe, different statistics there that can really pull a user in and see how they're making a difference. We also showed to the user who Kuda Vana is. I think that's really important. We did some research and found that users really, they were willing to make more of a donation when they were able to trust the nonprofit that they were with. And then more information about what Kuda Vana does. This can lead users into researching more and really be a jumping off point for those users into discovering more about the nonprofit and being able to connect with that nonprofit. And again, this was all in our process of being able to get people who visit the site to donate to this nonprofit. And then we have some more stories from Zimbabwe down below. And another big aspect was showing transparency to the user. We found a lot in our research that users wanted the transparency aspect when they're donating to a nonprofit. And being able to have this seal of approval and different things like that was really something that we definitely wanted to showcase here. So this was the full site that we delivered. including the donation flow was another aspect that we worked on. And this was setting up a way to have users be able to donate easily and efficiently and donate in a way that they would be willing to. So this included a lot of research on how users donate, how much they want to donate, and different things like that. Something I think that made this project really unique is that we wanted to partner with the client, which is Kuda Vana, Utah, to make sure that we deliver a site that she can then use. Like she mentioned that she is a one-person team in Emeritus. So we were able to work with her Squarespace account and some website content that she was already familiar with, to make sure that we delivered a site that was live, ready to go, and able to quickly help that nonprofit there.
Nick, I think you mentioned that they have like 3 weeks or so to build this project. I was wondering what that actually looks like within the bootcamp structure.
Sure. So they're given 3 weeks. They do a kickoff call with the client, talk about some of the constraints. So they've already been briefed. I've already let the client know what we're doing, and I've put together a sort of a brief for them. Then they move into the core of the project. Every project is different, requires different things. I like to joke that the first week is just trying to understand what your company does. And then after that, you can actually begin that research and that synthesis and honest. In this case, Emily's team moved really quickly and was able to solve these problems with a lot of help from Tara. What I always told them is like, you're not developers, you're here to design the website. But I pointed out in this project, this website is in Squarespace, and y'all could do that. You could get inside of Squarespace and move things. So no pressure, but if you get an idea of what you're wanting to do, why not just go ahead and build it for her? And they were able to do that, which was really, really impressive.
And Tara, how did the General Assembly students do, in your opinion? Like, how did they do incorporating your insights into this, what looks like an amazing redesign?
Okay, I'm going to wax eloquent because I can, and I get to say it in front of Emily again. So I'll tell you, first of all, you got to think back to 2020 and what was happening in 2020, and what was happening in the nonprofit space. It was terrifying to imagine that donors were, stopping giving. I mean, so many nonprofits tanked during that time period. And we have such a responsibility, not only to the kids in our care, but also to the staff and their families. And so for me, I knew we had an outdated, unmanageable website. And so my primary goal was the donation flow. Like, how do we get more people to sign up as monthly donors, which are the bread and butter of a nonprofit, when it comes to budgeting. And so that was my primary goal. Everything else was sort of secondary, wasn't really even in my mind. I was just thinking about money. Like, how do I get the money in? How do I increase those recurring gifts? And I will tell you, they delivered. Not only did they deliver on that, and creating like a beautiful, seamless sort of donation platform and process, they surprised me. It was like this huge surprise when they delivered really what was a brand new site, and it was beautiful, and it represented who we are as an organization so much better than the site we had before, and really just, I think, elevated us in a time that every nonprofit really needed to be elevated, to can help them continue and support when times were so difficult for so many people. And I can give you some pretty incredible stats. Actually, I was just looking at them because I wanted Emily to hear this. So this was 2 years ago, going on 3 years now. And I was just looking at some statistics. So our goal was to increase monthly donations. In the last 2 years, since Emily and her team worked on our site, we have had a 33% increase in online donations. That is directly related to the UX design project. I mean, if that doesn't tell you what impact is, I don't know what will. And 44%, so almost half of all of those gifts that come in online are now recurring gifts, which is exactly what our stated goal was and exactly what Emily and her team delivered on. And so I hope that she, who's hearing this, can feel so proud that, that money has really gone towards transforming lives for some kids that desperately needed it. And so I'm just super grateful for the opportunity to engage with Emily and her team on this project. It was really fun. I learned a lot. I can say they asked me questions along the way, really helped make sure that what they were delivering to me, as you were saying, was something I could use. It wasn't of use to me if it was something that after the project was done, I could not implement. And so I really appreciated that they listened to that side of, the client's need, and truly delivered.
Wow, those figures are amazing. Emily, can you give us a little bit of like the nitty gritty of like what you used tools wise, or even just how you did your user research to build this redesign?
Yeah, a lot of our user research, I'll head over to my portfolio where I kind of explain it. So we kind of followed the design process that we had learned in the previous sprints within this boot camp. And so that really started off with just some preliminary generative research on users' relationships with nonprofits. And this was created just using a survey. We sent it out to 25 people. We really wanted to figure out why people donate to certain nonprofits, what they need in order to donate, and like Tara said, create those recurring donations. So we found that a lot of people wanted to see how their donations are being used, so their impact, and then a lot of people wanted to feel personally aligned to that nonprofit. So once we got that research, we really discovered that it was crucial to have some transparency into how where users' donations go, like we mentioned, that impact, and just seeing like specific breakdowns of their donations. And this all, like Tara says, comes into the goal of increasing those donations. So that's why we really wanted to go above and beyond to create that whole site, because we feel that when users go to a nonprofit site that looks clean, that is, that looks professional, is helps increase their donations because it is a nonprofit that they end up trusting. So that's a lot of the research that we took part in. And then once we wanted to, get into that design, here's some of the user personas that we created. But once we wanted to get to that design, we asked ourselves some different questions of how might we drive monthly donations? How might we show more communication? So where the money goes and different aspects there. And that's when we started to get into this ideation. I know that we had a few days where we just gathered as a group. There's 3 other user experience designers that we just ideated, tossed out ideas, did some crazy eights, different things like that, where we really got to kind of see what we could come up with. And I think that one of the main things that we wanted to address is being able to simplify that navigation, but then also show that home site tells a story. So the intuitive navigation was definitely a big part of this, how we tell a story to Kuda Vana. And this was, we definitely did some information architecture and different online tools that we had. And again, this is all resources that we had learned in the previous sprints and previous projects that weren't necessarily with real clients, but we were able to take that knowledge into working with the real client on this capstone project. And then again, we had one of the designers on our team really focus on that donation flow and how we could encourage recurring donations here. And that was really working with that third-party addition to Squarespace. So he was able to I think he called up the people that works with this donation flow and was able to get more information there and just really followed that trail, which was awesome. And then I really helped out on telling the story through the homepage here. This was in response to our research about, how users want that transparency. They want to see that impact and they want all this information, feel that personal connection to the nonprofit in order to donate. And I used mostly Sketch to design, which is a design platform, to design this homepage at first, and then was able to bring those elements into Squarespace after that design was completed, so we could hand off that live site. But that's a little bit of the tools that we use and the research that we conducted here.
So Nick, if Emily's team ran into any kind of like issues during their redesign process, how did you or the other TAs or instructors provide support?
Sure. So I let them and the client know when they start this that this is their final project, and we're going to make this as much of a simulation of the real world as possible. And so in this case, I'm sort of a creative director, product owner, UX lead type that they're going to come to. And I'm basically playing the role of manager for 3, 4, 5 different sub teams working on these different clients. And so I check in with them, but I mostly wait for them to come to me. I let them, I introduced them to Tara, and but they needed to set up their own meetings. They needed to figure out the cadence and explain. And basically what would happen is if they were getting off track or they weren't sure, they would need to bring that to me and say, we made this, we showed Tara this, we're not sure how we feel about this. And then I can kind of help talk them through that, right? So I'm at that point just remove myself to just be an advisor to them.
And Emily, did your team end up showcasing this project, this site redesign, to either other folks at GA or even the Kuda Vana like extended team?
Yeah, I remember that we showcased this design. I think we had, a day that everyone was able to showcase their designs at GA. And so we were able to walk through our finished product and our process, and really show what we had worked on for those 3 weeks. And then it was able to share with the client as well.
So Tara, since experiencing this whole site redesign with the GA group, do you recommend that other organizations consider enlisting bootcamp talent for projects like your website redesign?
Oh, absolutely. I've already done so. In fact, literally right before we hopped on this call, I had an email come in from a nonprofit partner of mine asking if they had anyone I could recommend for a website redevelopment. And so I was like, I certainly do. I'd also add that Emily and her team were actually able to present their concept and web design to our board. So we had a board meeting, and her and the team, I don't know if you remember this, but they actually were able to call in and give like a live demo of what they were doing. And our board was just so thankful and excited to see what they were doing. So I 100%, I mean, you guys are the first folks that I think of, not just in terms of, oh gosh, it's affordable for me, but no, like the level of professionalism that Emily and her team offered was truly over the top. And I think what UX and general design is doing is absolutely incredible.
That's awesome. Emily, it's been a little bit since 2020 and you did this project. How has this project maybe elevated your own design career? Did you find that it like opened any doors for you when you were looking for your next UX design role?
Yeah, I think it greatly was able to help my design career. I think working with a real client is something that is so valuable, not only just like the experience of working with a real client, but also something that to put on your portfolio. Once I put that real client on my portfolio, that's one of the first things that recruiters will ask me about is, hey, what was your process looking like when you worked with Kuda Vana? Tell me more about that. And I can say, yeah, I had a real client. I worked with this person. This was our process. This wasn't just, a project in school, like this was a real opportunity and we delivered a real product. So being able to use this project in interviews, I think it directly helped me get the role that I now have as a user experience designer. So it was very important to me. And I think, and it was, one of the most important projects I've worked on.
That's awesome. I love how it gave you like that credibility because it's an amazing real world project. And Nick, I'd love to know your advice for incoming UX design students who, they're excited, but they might be a little overwhelmed already about all the things they will learn. Like, how do you make the most of that UX design bootcamp experience?
Yeah, so the main thing is coming in, being able to really commit your life to this for 3 months, 6 months, however long that boot camp actually is. Because I mean, Emily is a great example. I see students come in and learn more than I did in a 4-year undergrad situation because of the intensity of the program and how they're able to focus purely on skills, right? It assumes that you have some basic knowledge of like how the world works, and you can just come in and focus on those skills. Now, the caveat to that is you have to be really focused on what you're doing. You have to be completely there mentally and physically while you're involved in the process. And you need to be constantly communicating with the people who are instructing you to let you know what's going on. The fact that Tara received a fully functional website from this was because of seeing Brad and Emily and Jackie continuing to up the ante of showing me what they're capable of. So I get to say, all right, well, if that's going well, let me throw some more things your way. Maybe that'll help Tara, can help you get a better job. So just going in ready to really rise to the occasion of whatever that skill set ends up being, is, I guess that would be my advice.
That's an excellent place to wrap up this project spotlight. It was really so awesome to see how the DSGA bootcamp students elevated and helped Kuda Vana get more donations in the past 3 years. Those numbers, it's astounding. So thank you so much, Emily, for also walking us through the site. We're going to be posting a recording and a transcript of this video interview on the Course Report blog with contact information for General Assembly, just in case you're interested in applying for one of their upcoming design cohorts. And thanks to you all for watching. You can tweet at us, email us, and let us know which topic you'd like us to cover next on the Course Report blog. And in the meantime, follow Course Report on Facebook and Twitter. And if you're a bootcamp alumni, don't forget to post a review of your very own bootcamp experience on Course Report. Your review is a huge help to anyone thinking of getting into tech today.